Hi everyone, my name is Noordeep Kaur and I'm going to talk about the most famous psychologist Noam Chomsky. In my part, we'll be talking about his birth and family history, initial intellectual interests, schooling, mentorship and its impacts, and also about his marriage and academic pursuits. Talking about Chomsky's initial years and childhood, he was born on December 7, 1928 in Philadelphia, in Pennsylvania. He grew up in a family that valued education and learning. Also, his father, William Chomsky, was a Hebrew scholar and teacher, and his mother, Elsie Chomsky, was involved in social causes and many other social activities. His family was Eastern European immigrants. Academic and political interests. Noam Chomsky grew up in a home where talking about politics and big ideas was common. His mother was an activist and a teacher, and his father was a respected scholar of the Hebrew language. Due to this, Chomsky was often around discussions about language, politics, and education. This environment made him interested in history and politics at a very young age. When he was 10 years old, he had a strong understanding of world events. Also, he wrote an article about the rise of fascism in Europe. Coming to the education and mentorship of Noam Chomsky, as he attended Central High School in Philadelphia, where he studied philosophy and linguistics, the school's academic focus helped him develop strong analytical and critical thinking skills. Also, in 1945, he enrolled at the University of Pennsylvania. Initially, Chomsky explored different subjects before focusing on linguistics and philosophy as he was confused. At Penn, he met Zelig Harris, a well known figure in structural linguistics, who became his mentor. Harris had a significant influence on Chomsky's thinking, but as Chomsky studied under him, he began questioning some of the existing theories in linguistics. Talking about Noam's married life, he was married to Carol Doris Catchist in 1949. They had known each other since they were young. Also, Carol wasn't just his wife, she was also a close friend who shared his beliefs about politics and social issues. She was an activist and a linguist like Chomsky. They were married for nearly 60 years until Carol passed away from cancer in 2008. In 2014, a few years after Carol's death, Chomsky married Valeria Westermann, a translator from Brazil. Like Carol, Valeria shares many of Chomsky's political and intellectual interests.
Hello everyone, my name is Genia Brad, and today I will talk about the linguistic contribution of Noam Chomsky, which is very famous psychologist. Firstly, I will let you know the meaning of linguistics. So, it is the scientific study of language, focusing on its structure, meaning, and how it is used. It covers a variety of topics that include sounds, sentence structure, meaning, and context of language use. Linguistic aim to understand how language are constructed, how they evolve, and how they function in communication. So, the focus of Chomsky was on the underlying structure of language. This shifts the focus on how we learn language and how we view the structure of language. Skinner believed that kids learn language by copying the things that they hear, while Chomsky believed that language learning is far deeper than that. The study of language was made scientifically by Chomsky. He demonstrated that despite the observable variety of the world's languages, there is likely only one inventory of linguistic features. All languages that still used or even future ones are combination of these elements. He formed a theory of transformational generative grammar, which explains the cognitive ability to generate sentences using unconscious knowledge of language, which he calls universal grammar. It changed the field of linguistics. Chomsky believed that language ability is intrinsic since the human brain is psychologically wired to learn language. So, in this slide, I will explain the topic Chomsky rationalism. So, it means creativity and intrinsic ideas. So, what does it mean? Chomsky believes that human creativity comes from something inherent with us. He thinks that kids start showing creativity from a very young age, especially when they start using language. When children play, create, or communicate, they are able to express complex and rich ideas using language. Chomsky suggests that this creativity comes from an internal ability to form and combine ideas, not just from external influences or experiences. So, the second one is analytic philosophy. It means mathematics and logic in language. Chomsky's ideas are linked to analytic philosophy, which uses mathematics and logic to understand and explain things clearly. Chomsky applies this to language by creating a formal set of rules that can generate all possible sentences in a language. This method, known as transformational generative grammar, it explains how grammar works by dividing it into two levels. The first one is deep structure. So, what does it mean? This is the basic underlying idea or meaning of a sentence. And second one is surface structure. This is the way a sentence is actually spoken or written. So, my third point is shift from e language to I language. Before Chomsky, the study of language focused on e language, which is the language people speak and use in everyday communication. This approach looked at language as something external like words and sentences in the environment. Chomsky argued that this approach was incomplete because it didn't take into account how our minds understand and produce language. He introduced the idea of I language. It means internal language, which is the mental system inside our heads that allows us to understand and create language. For Chomsky, language isn't just something that exists outside us, it's something internalized in our minds and part of our cognitive ability. My fourth point is cognitive psychology. Chomsky believed that language is a natural phenomenon that is deeply connected to human biology and the mind. He thought language isn't just something people learn from their surroundings, but it is a part of our natural mental abilities. This view contrasts with behaviorism. It is a theory that says language is learned through external influences like reinforcement and imitation. Chomsky disagreed with behaviorism and he argued that it doesn't explain the complex and creative ways that we use in language. Instead, he believed that the ability to use language is a natural part of our cognitive process. It is the way that our brain works and processes information. So, my last point is principles and parameters. Firstly, I will make you familiar with the meaning of principles and parameters. Principles are universal rules that all languages share. On the other hand, parameters are like switches that adjust based on the language you hear. Your mind sets these parameters to yes or no based on the language you are learning. So, Chomsky's principles and parameters theory suggests that humans are born with an innate ability to learn language. So, while everyone has some basic rules, the way those rules are used in different languages that depends on the environment and what language you are exposed to. So, this is my last slide, and here are my references. Thank you.
Hi everyone, I am Dilavar Singh. I am going to talk about Noam Chomsky. My topic is criticism and controversy. Chomsky has changed how we think about language, but not everyone agrees with his ideas. He's also been in spotlight for his political opinions. Let's look at some criticism of his work. Challenges to universal grammar. Chomsky's universal grammar theory says all humans have inbuilt structure for languages, but not everyone agrees to him. Critics like Daniel Everett says it ignores the diversity of languages. Many others agree with it. Another big critic is overemphasis on innateness. Chomsky mostly focuses on things which we are born with and not with those things which we learn from world around us. Many believe social interactions play a bigger role in learning languages. Next is abstract theoretical nature. People also blame Chomsky that his theories are disconnected to how language works in real life, while functional linguistics focus on how people actually use language. Next part is his political activism. Chomsky is quite popular for his comments on US policies and global capitalism. Some people likes it while other doesn't. In 1980s, one of his major controversy happened when he defended free speech right of Robert Furison, a Holocaust denier. His support hurt many people. Chomsky also disagreed with other scholars, like with Mikhail Foucault. He debated about human nature, while with Stephen Pinker about the role of genetics in language. At last, about his legacy. After all this criticism, Chomsky have a very big impact on linguistic and political thoughts. People still debate about him and talk about his work, which shows how important he is till now.